Greetings. This is Rosalind Parks with National Network View News. Tonight, NNV medical contributor Dr. Akili Muhammad will discuss the spread of COVID-19 and its variants, FDA's decision to fully authorize Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine, and the vaccine mandates. Contributor Sister Sherrie Muhammad, founder and director of Asiatic Minds online school, will be joined by student minister Daniel Muhammad, chess instructor, who will discuss how chess class will benefit students in addition to the experience he brings to the Asiatic Minds classroom. Before we get into the top news, let's take a look at the stories we've covered recently. On this week's I Have a Testimony show, host Willie Muhammad spoke with project manager and interior decorator Sister Sherrie Muhammad, who is helping to beautify the New Orleans Mosque after Hurricane Katrina. She discussed working in Atlanta with Southern Regional Minister Brother Abdul Sharif Muhammad, the 10,000 Fearless, modeling for the Modest clothing line, and receiving her holy name.
I was told that you played a part in the decoration and the decor of that special day, because I know there was a wedding later on, but when you see the videos, it's just heavenly, right? When we talk about heaven, I would imagine if that was some real place outside of the planet Earth, it would look something like that. Can you talk about that experience?
Yes. Sister BJ, Sister Betsy Jean Farrakhan, was like the director that day. I forget the official title. And then Sister Maria, of course, I'm on a team with Sister Maria Farrakhan. And the minister actually had a vision before, like, all the background scenes of, of what he saw. And so we were able to be a part of bringing that vision into reality. And you could actually, before the criterion started, you could feel the spirit in the garden. Like, it felt like we were standing on holy ground.
Sister Sherrie Muhammad, founder and director of Asiatic Minds online school, and Sister Rose X. Morris, book club coordinator, discussed student proficiency in reading and comprehension and how Asiatic Minds book club exposes students to books, characters, and activities that stimulate student minds, promotes positive themes, and fosters improvement in reading and comprehension skill levels. How important is it for students to be proficient in reading and in comprehension?
It's very important for students to be proficient in reading. As we know, illiteracy is a major factor and contributor to the school to prison pipeline. And so also in the Supreme Wisdom, we're taught that in the temples we should have reading classes. So us having this book club is our part of having that reading class for our students. The piece of literacy, that is something that we have to help our students improve on. There was a 2017 Huffington Post article that actually stated that 43% of adults in America read at an 8th grade level or lower. And also that 14% can only grasp material at a 5th grade level.
Sister Rose X. Morris, book club coordinator, discussed how Asiatic Minds book club is exposing students to a variety of books. She shared her own experiences as an author and publisher and titles of her literary works. What books have you written and or published?
Well, several years ago, my book, The Chronicle of the Seventh Son, Black Panther Mark Clark, it is a memoir of the assassination of my brother, Mark Clark, who was a member of the Black Panther Party and was assassinated in 1969, along with Chairman Fred Hampton Sr. I've also just published and released another book, and the book is actually called Being on the Planet, and it is also a true memoir that goes into a 1984 encounter with the mother wheel. And so we're very excited about those books. My daughter, Jacqueline Clark Hodge, is the author of Being on the Planet, and I have edited and published that one as well.
NNV News anchor Christina Muhammad's guest contributors Mishan Sadiq and Javon Muhammad commented on CDC's new vaccination mandate for pregnant women and its future implications.
Now, we saw that there's some new recommendations. Now, with the Delta variant on the rise, what does this new strong recommendation from the CDC and ACOG, for those who may not know what ACOG is, that's the American College of Gynecology. What does this mean for pregnant women?
I can. Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. Glad to see you. And I just want to simply say that this is not new. The COVID, this Delta variant, this COVID virus and pandemic, this is fairly new for us. But vaccination during pregnancy is not. And most midwives I know and myself don't recommend any vaccines during pregnancy when we're not in a COVID pandemic. So think about that. And those are so-called studied vaccines. But when we talk about the COVID vaccine, we don't know enough. The CDC can make a recommendation, ACOG can make a recommendation, but the simple truth is we don't know enough about what will happen.
Christina Muhammad questioned Mishan Sadiq and Javon Muhammad about Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital contacting authorities who legally kidnapped the children of Saisha Mercado, American Idol third place contestant.
What is your perspective on what is considered medical neglect?
I'm not a clinician, so I'm glad Sister Javon started it. But what I wanted to highlight is that they asked for more information. And so if an individual asks for more information, they're not denying that the professional or the so-called professional has the information. They need to make an informed decision. And she also said that she was faced with judgment. And I find that in the research that women, babies, Black babies are dying, not because they're not eating the right foods, it's because of systemic racism. And if, like Sister Javon said, if they would have been counseled. So I think that whatever the standard is for neglect, that information should have been given to her so that her and her husband could have made the right decision. But I can't agree with Sister Javon anymore.
Mishan Sadiq and Javon Muhammad also shared their thoughts on Midwives Alliance of North America's regulation on midwives and the practice of midwifery.
The Midwives Alliance of North America, also known as MANA's President Dr. Sarita Bennett, has recently received a lot of flack for attempting to pass regulations that will remove autonomy from certified professional midwives. Sister Javon, can you educate us on what a midwife is and why is it vital for them to have autonomy?
Sure. There are several types of midwives. There's not just one type. So one type is a midwife who becomes a nurse first, called a nurse midwife, and then gets advanced training. And then there are CPMs, LMs, direct entry midwives they enter into midwifery and have specific midwifery training without being nurses. There's another called a certified midwife, who is also a direct entry midwife, but recognized by the credentialing board for certified nurse midwife. So there are many types of midwives.
Previously on I Have a Testimony, NNV News anchor Willie Muhammad's guest was Dr. Boyce Watkins, host of his own Black social commentary show. He talked about meeting the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the minister's involvement in the New Paradigm Forum, and the relaunch of Muhammad's economic blueprint.
Can you share the first time you heard or when you first actually met the minister? And also, how come, unlike many others, you have not succumbed to the pressure and the fear tactics that people place on Black athletes, Black intellectuals when it comes to associating with the minister? Why is that?
Well, to answer that question first of all, I'm humbled, and I can't even. I don't even know how to respond to any comparison between me and Minister Farrakhan. there is no comparison in my view. This man is extraordinary, and I first started to learn about him when I was in college, and right before the Million Man March, and he helped me open my eyes in terms of understanding the complexities of American racism and just what power and strength and manhood really look like. And so when I got the chance to sit with the minister, it was obviously overwhelming.
Let's pause for announcements from our sponsors. Coming up, Sister Sherrie Muhammad, founder and director of Asiatic Minds online school, and instructor, student minister Daniel Muhammad, will discuss how chess class can benefit students. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps us to highlight solutions for a brighter tomorrow. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Asiatic Minds, online education, helping our children to discover their God-given skills, gifts, talents, and passion that will allow them to see their greatness, as well as the greatness of our people, and upon discovering that greatness, infusing them with the desire to use it for the betterment of themselves, their families, our people, and the world. Call now, 502-219-4848.
This is Sister Sajda Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajda House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahouse.com.
The hashtag Bank Black social media campaign made strides not only in revolutionizing how we bank, but also how we think. The movement inspired thousands of African Americans across the country to transfer or deposit millions of dollars into Black-owned banks. These are banks that will invest in urban communities, employ African Americans, support Black businesses, and inspire Black home ownership. This is a very proud moment for our culture as we are taking small, but significant, steps towards building Black power through Black wealth.
Thank you for tuning in to NNV News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, National Network View. This is Clifton Muhammad with nnvnews.com.
Asiatic Minds online school exposes students to a variety of classes, including a chess class that will help improve students' ability to focus, concentrate, and think strategically. Joining us to discuss is founder and director Sherrie Muhammad and instructor, student minister, Brother Daniel Muhammad. Greetings.
Greetings.
Peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Great. Walaikum salam. First, Sister Sherrie. Asiatic Minds online school is offering students the chance to participate in chess classes. Why have you decided to include a chess class in the curriculum?
First, I want to say thank you, Sister Rosalind, for having us this evening. And we decided to include chess because we want to expand the mind of our students. Chess is a great opportunity for critical thinking more than one step at a time, thinking far in advance. And it's like going to the gym for the mind. And so we wanted to enrich the curriculum as much as we could. And chess is one of those classes that is definitely an enrichment to the basic classes of school.
Okay. Student minister, Brother Daniel, as a chess instructor, you have many years of experience that you will share with the students. Who taught you how to play chess?
Well, it started with my father. He taught me at 6 years old. I didn't really like it too much at that age, but at about 11 years old, I just fell in love with the game. I started to get very serious about it, competed in tournaments, won some national championships with my team. And then as time went on, it was actually in February of 2020 that I officially got my national master chess title, which is pretty big. There's very few Black National Masters. And I've been playing ever since, and I've just fell in love with the game.
Now, can chess help improve Asiatic Mind students' level of focus and concentration in class? And if so, how so?
Absolutely. Well, in public and charter schools, one of the biggest issues is that they say that our children are very impulsive, that we don't know how to behave ourselves, we have no self-control or discipline. And all of those features are answered by our study of the game of chess. Chess teaches you several things. Number one, the discipline, right? Because you're not going to be good, you're not going to win if you can't exercise discipline. It also teaches you how to control your impulses. Impulsive chess players are always penalized. We love them. They're easy to defeat. So it teaches you how to control those things. And most importantly, what chess teaches is to look ahead and start planning in advance. And that's one of the things that I think the students will not just carry through their chess career or through their schooling career, but it's going to carry over into their adult life as well.
Will you also be working with students to maybe put together a team to compete statewide or nationally?
Absolutely. So we're doing some stuff here in Chicago where I live, but we would love if the students of the Asiatic Minds school could definitely link up with us at some national tournaments, hopefully once the pandemic subsides and et cetera. But absolutely, Muhammad has to represent. We want to have some dope shirts with some national flags and whatnot and just going around whooping some butt.
Yes, sir. Sister Sherrie, do you feel a sense of responsibility to encourage more Black students to play chess?
I definitely feel a responsibility to include classes like chess within a curriculum. I think chess is awesome. My husband plays chess. I'm one of those people who have not quite learned. I will be tuning into the class myself to try to grasp it. But yes, I do feel a responsibility because I want the students that I come in contact with to have that opportunity to develop, because I know the importance of it. I know the benefits of it. And so I think that it is something, if I have any say so in it, it's going to happen.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Now, one of the things that we have noticed in speaking to you previously is that you have a kind of I guess I would say, a well-rounded approach to learning and education. You have an instructor for book club, an instructor for meditation classes, an instructor for chess classes, in addition to what we would call the core reading, writing, arithmetic subjects that we see in schools around the country. How is your approach different than, I guess, everyday regular old school?
Sure. So we're coming from the basis of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And that's a huge difference. When you're coming from the base of having a knowledge of self, having a knowledge of God, having a knowledge of the enemy. And when you approach every subject, you are approaching it. And our instructors are approaching that in such a way that this subject is our students. So our students are math. Our students are chess. So whatever you're learning in that class, it's going on internally as well. And so it's learning about self. Everything in education is discovering yourself. No matter how it's packaged, whether it is a science class, which really meshes with math, which really meshes with chess, and book club. All these classes really can just conglomerate into one thing, but we space them out so that you can really kind of focus on the dynamic of each class. But all of it is within self. So that's how we're approaching it. And that's how we're teaching our students. So that as they come to school, school is not just those hours they're sitting in front of this computer. They're walking away with the understanding that everything that we've talked about today and everything that I come in contact with and look at and study outside of this computer, it's me. The whole universe is the macrocosm of this microcosm, which is our bodies. So when we approach education in that way, and that education, as the Honorable Minister Farrakhan taught us, it's drawing out from the student what Allah has deposited in. So it's a totally different concept of pulling out as opposed to us as teachers thinking we're just depositing. We're actually helping them to search within and pull out.
Beautiful. Yes, ma'am. And Student Minister Daniel, in addition to your role as chess instructor, you are a student minister and helper of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and assistant minister to Minister Ishmael Muhammad. What have you learned from your positions, and how will you bring those lessons to the classroom?
That's an excellent question. One of the first things that come to mind is both Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Minister Ishmael Muhammad. They are both excellent problem solvers. Like if I didn't know that they didn't play chess, actually Minister Ishmael plays a little bit, but like the way that they just conduct their everyday life is literal chess to me. They're always problem solving. They're always in meetings. They're always weighing out all of the variants, all of the options before they make a determination or a decision. And thankfully, by the grace of Allah, I've been in a position to kind of sit as a little bug on the wall, a little fly in the corner, and kind of learn some things. So that ability to kind of take in all information, go in the direction of the best calculations is something that I've learned from ministry, but is also going to transfer to the students through our level of instruction at Asiatic Minds as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And Sister Sherrie, is there still time and availability for parents who want to enroll their students in school?
Absolutely. Time is really ticking and we're coming to a close, but we still have a little space left. We actually have less than 10 slots available at the school. So anyone who may be interested and want to learn more, go to the website, AsiaticMinds.com. It's AsiaticMinds.com. There is a phone number on there as well if you want to reach out and ask questions. And you can sign up directly from the website as well. So school is just around the corner. We start September the 1st, and we look forward to welcoming any and all who want to join us.
And Sister Sherrie, can you tell our viewers, I guess, is it the grade levels? How old or what is the limit, the age limit or grade limit for enrollment?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for asking that. And so it's definitely not age-based, but it is grade-based, and that's from 3rd grade to 8th grade. So should you have a 6-year-old who is in the 3rd grade, come right on along. You don't have to be a certain age. It's just those are the grades that we are offering this year. And our plans are to continue to expand with each year, is to expand the grades going all the way up through high school.
Perfect. All right. And Student Minister Brother Daniel, with chess class being introduced to our Asiatic Minds online school students, what is one of the first things that you plan on teaching, one of the first lessons, that you plan on teaching your students?
So chess is a very complex game. Not that it's complex isn't too difficult for anyone to comprehend, but it has many tiers and layers to it. So starting out, our first initial focus is just going to be the base understanding. They must identify pieces. They must be able to tell their values. They must be able to tell how they move. And once that foundation is laid and we're all on the same page, then we'll take it into some of the deeper principles that exist in chess.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right, Sister Sherrie, what is that date that school is starting again? Can you give us that one more time, please?
Yes, ma'am. That is September the 1st. And should you want to enroll, go to AsiaticMinds.com.
All right. Thank you both for joining us this evening. We look forward to seeing the chess club winning some chess tournaments and the t-shirts.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Sister Sherrie, yes, sir.
Ma'am. Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Thank you again for joining us and following your calling for putting this school together. This is wonderful. Thank you.
All praises due to Allah. And of course, thank you, Sister Rosalind. Thank you, NNV News, for supporting us. And thank you to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and his family for your great sacrifice. Were it not for you, I most certainly would not be sitting here today. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Let's pause for announcements from our sponsors. Then, medical contributor Dr. Akili Muhammad will discuss the spread of COVID-19 and its variants, FDA's decision to fully authorize Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine, and the vaccination mandates. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel at National Network View. I am Anissa Muhammad with nnvnews.com.
The FDA has granted full approval of the Pfizer-BioNTech coronavirus vaccine, which is expected to spark a wave of vaccine mandates by employers.
COVID vaccine now getting full FDA approval, of course, the first COVID-19 vaccine to do so. And this is for people ages 16 and up. It will continue to be available under emergency use authorization for people ages 12 to 15. And we're still waiting on clinical trial results for kids under 12. And so that is something that we're going to be looking forward to seeing in the next couple months. So this really is for adults and people in their late teens. And the FDA's acting commissioner, Dr. Janet Woodcock, pointing out that while millions of people have already safely received COVID vaccines, we recognize that for some, the FDA approval of a vaccine may now instill additional confidence to get vaccinated. She says today's milestone puts us one step closer to altering the course of this pandemic in the U.S. The expectation is that this could trigger a lot of employers and universities and other entities to feel comfortable mandating a vaccine that is fully FDA approved and not one that is just available on emergency use authorization.
Joining us to discuss this in further detail is medical contributor Dr. Akili Muhammad. Greetings, sir.
Greetings, ma'am. How are you?
I am well. Thank you, sir. With the number of cases steadily increasing, do you agree with the CDC's statement of the percentage of vaccinated people who are spreading COVID?
No, I think it's far underrepresented. And it's based on not only the number of so-called popular people that we're seeing, such as Reverend Jackson and his wife being vaccinated and in the hospital, but it's also in my personal experience with people that are contacting me, with people that I know around the country and healthcare workers around the country that are seeing a large number of people that are becoming sick that are vaccinated, but also I have also experienced quite a few people that were in the company of vaccinated people and others that they had been around before. And after being around that vaccinated person, they and others got sick. And so, putting this information together and looking at the climate in general, I don't believe that the estimates are anywhere close, because the last time I saw, I think it was it was less than 1% for sure. But I don't think that's anywhere close to normal.
Now, there seems to be an increase in suggesting, I believe it's called monoclonal antibodies in elderly and those who are sick. Do you agree with this suggestion?
Well, no, I wouldn't agree with it, because what I'm seeing is that a lot of physicians in the hospital around the country are suggesting it to asymptomatic people, as well as they're suggesting it to people that are in the hospital sick. And there's no evidence that it does anything to help the course of getting somebody better. And so, my only conclusion is that it's a protocol or it's about money, but it definitely has not shown to date that it has any benefit in keeping people, I should say, getting people out of the hospital and improving their symptoms. It hasn't shown to change that in any way.
Okay. Now, many around the country are interested in a medicine called ivermectin. What do you think of this medication?
Well, firstly, I say that I've used it in my career many years ago. It is a medication that typically we use to treat parasites. So we're talking about like tapeworms, things of that nature that could be in people's intestines. And it has a side effect profile. Anytime I've ever used it or anytime I've known anybody else to use it, you have to keep up with a person's liver profile because it does have a potential side effect of causing some liver damage. And so, you know, in the case of this pandemic that we're in, it was found to have the ability to kind of help in a viral infection. And this is common. I mean, there are a lot of times in medicine, we will find a medication that has a side effect, and then they use the medication for the side effect because the side effect was more beneficial than the actual thing that they were trying to use it for in the first place. And so that's one of these type situations where ivermectin, with a lot of doctors around the country, we're seeing that people who were taking it were getting over the infection faster, even if they were severely ill. And then some people, of course, have been taking it, and they suggest that it will prevent them from getting the virus in general.
Now, in the clip that played, we heard that the FDA approved the Pfizer vaccine. When the FDA approved the EUA for the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine, they stated there were no other viable treatments for COVID. How will this, or will it, affect the popularity of the ivermectin medicine?
Yeah, you know, I think the whole reality of ivermectin has been growing in popularity, especially since this Delta variant has started to increase the cases. I know there are plenty of people reaching out to me, and plenty of people are talking about it in general. The social media has a lot of information about ivermectin. But, you know, the interesting thing about the emergency use authorization for all of the vaccines, they stated in those documents that there were no other viable treatments. And we know that that's definitely not the truth. But of course, we're looking at a system that is occurring in this country. And so as they start to approve, as the clip said, you know, people are going to gain confidence because some people are that blind to still believe in what this government has said. And I think that's going to turn the medical community against ivermectin. And an interesting thing I heard within the last couple of days are that there are some pharmacies that are receiving pressure not to fill the prescriptions. And so they're using certain terminology and they're making certain statements that are turning people away from even wanting to pick up the prescription. But it's definitely not based on the studies and what they're showing. It's more propaganda to kind of turn down the interest in ivermectin.
What is the latest information that you've gathered about the limitations that the unvaccinated people are experiencing?
Well, you know, it's amazing because, as I said, you know, my experience with two personal close friends that have contracted COVID within the last, I would say, probably 2 to 3 weeks, is that they have pretty much kept themselves quarantined. They've been, for the most part, around only their families. And in both instances, they were exposed to somebody that had taken the vaccine. And I mean, whole households are getting sick. And, you know, when I look at the climate of what they were doing in their quarantine, they literally were staying to themselves. I mean, they may take trips as a family, but they weren't like interacting with other people, and they definitely weren't doing any large groups or any public activities where they felt like they could get exposed. But being in the company of some of their family members that were vaccinated, they wound up getting sick. And so that's not just happening in those friends of mine. I'm hearing that from other people as well. And so I think that, again, as we have discussed previously on this show, people are starting to see a reality that's different than what the media is exposing and what the CDC, the NIH, and some of these other government organizations are expressing. And I think people are starting to come to conclusions that they haven't been told the truth. And so there's a an insolent anger and vitriol that's growing in this country. And I don't think we're seeing the end of it anytime soon.
Now, Dr. Keeley, this is an excellent point in the show to pause. We're going to take a look and a listen to our announcements from our sponsors. When we return, we'll have more with Dr. Akili, and he will be discussing COVID-19, the variants, and the next steps for our children. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App, NNV News.
Asiatic Minds, online education, helping our children to discover their God-given skills, gifts, talents, and passion that will allow them to see their greatness as well as the greatness of our people. And upon discovering that greatness, infusing them with the desire to use it for the betterment of themselves, their families, our people, and the world. Classes begin September 1st. To enroll, visit AsiaticMinds.com.
This is Sister Sherrie Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajda House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahouse.com.
Greetings from National Network View. This week's Final Call cover story headline reads, "Separate and Be Saved. America's race problems and deadly race interactions are growing worse. It is time we leave the children of our former slave masters and 400-year-old tormentors. Separation from whites is the only and best solution to this problem, a serious problem that is rooted in prophecy." This FCM volume number 41 edition middle page article by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is entitled "A Case for Separation." To read more, subscribe to finalcalldigital.com and tune in to the all-new Final Call Radio. This is the NNVnews.com Final Call cover report.
Please make sure you leave your comments and questions in the comment section below. Follow us on Facebook, National Network View, and make sure to check us out on Twitter as well, National Network View. This is Sergio Gutierrez with National Network View, signing off.
Thank you for staying with us. We are back with Dr. Akili and more on the discussion around COVID-19, the variants, and next steps for our children. Dr. Akili, there has been some new information that has come out within the last week or so. One of the hot button words is recombination. Can you explain to us what that is?
Yes, ma'am. Let me first just read the definition for everybody because I think it will help with the explanation. So the definition is the process of recombining things. And then the one that's more relative to the medical field is the rearrangement of genetic material, especially by crossing over in chromosomes or by the artificial joining of segments of DNA from different organisms.
Wow.
And so just to wrap it up, it would be intervention of people. It's not a normal process. So anytime you see something that says recombinant, that means some scientists went into a laboratory and started to co-join things that aren't naturally co-joined. And so that's what the word genetically modified can mean. And other words in medicine that are indicative of the fact that there's been some human intervention and it's not a natural process.
Oh, wow. Okay, thank you. Now, New York has implemented a vaccine card mandate. How soon do you see other states following suit?
You know, I expect it to be pretty quick. It's been my experience when it comes to the medical field that California and New York tend to lead this country. And so when either of them do something, mandate something, typically many other states follow right behind their lead. And so I'm expecting that to come very quickly, especially with the approval of this vaccine. And I would say the approval of the vaccines that are coming. And it's going to be that type of environment that we're going to see become more and more relevant and more apparent by the time this year ends.
Now, in the clip, we also heard the reporters say that the vaccine has been approved for those 16 and older, or is really meant for those who are later teens and adults. But in the same clip, they also said that the recommendation is that children 12 and older get the vaccine. With that being said, Australia has stated that they will vaccinate children in mass at a stadium in their country. They aim to vaccinate about 24,000 children during this effort. Aren't vaccine trials still ongoing for children?
Yes, specifically with the coronavirus, it's in this country, I know they're still doing experimentation on children from 6 years old to 12. And so I know when they approved it, they said 16 and up. But as the lady said in the clip, they're expecting to finish these trials within the next few months. They're, of course, pushing to have the number decrease down to 6 years old before the turn of the new year. And when it comes to Australia, it's kind of strange because, a lot of times when I'm researching other countries, you don't really know how much you can trust what we're getting. Just like we have to question the media here. But I know when I was reading about Australia, they were talking about giving them vaccinations to other types of diseases, but they weren't talking about COVID. They were saying that they weren't going to do mass vaccination for COVID, even though I think they have a plan right now to have their country 80% vaccinated within the next couple of months. So the information coming from Australia is a little muddled. I'm not really sure what's going on over there. But what I do know is that there are people posting on social media from Australia, and they're very concerned that there's going to be mass vaccination of children, and it's going to be against parents or with their permission. They seem to be moving in a direction of forced vaccination.
Now, with the focus being on the children in recent months, has a different dosage or even a recommended dose been released for minors as of today?
Not to my knowledge, and not based on the research that I've done. I mean, they were talking about doing the same dosage, the same adult dosage in 6-year-old children. Now, when they started talking about it from a perspective of younger children, because they were even talking about going younger than that, they were considering changing the dosage. But as of I know, the trials in 6-year-old children to 12-year-old children, as well as the pregnant women, it's a normal adult dose, which makes absolutely no sense, but that's what the studies are doing right now.
Now, this is probably going on all over the country, but one of my local school districts has authorized COVID testing in the schools on the heels of the approval of the Pfizer vaccine. Is there any relationship between the tests and the vaccines?
I believe there is. I don't know very many people that have been tested for COVID when they have the swab put all up in their nose that enjoy it, right? Nobody likes to be tested. And so I think schools, I think employers are going to start to implement the type of activity that is going to make it very difficult for those that do not want to be vaccinated to exist in these environments. There are people that I know of that have government jobs, and even some that have state jobs, that say that their companies are going to either you have to prove that you're vaccinated with your vaccine card, or they're going to be testing people 2 and 3 times a week. And that's not going to be a place of comfort when you have to go and get tested. That means you have to go back and get your results, or get your results. That means there's a anxiety part of waiting to get your test results back. And then, of course, as we've talked before, there's a bullying aspect to this as well, because people are so uninformed. People have so little medical knowledge, but yet they're taking this whole vaccine thing and running with it, even though they don't know how to explain it. And they're making people who are not vaccinated feel like they are the problem. We know different, but many people out here don't know how to go and challenge the science, nor take the science and come to their own conclusions. So it's going to be a very difficult bullying type environment, in my opinion. And that's going to be very difficult for people not to accept it. You know, when the FDA put this information out about they're going to accept it, that is another aspect of propaganda to make people believe that there's something good about it. That's why the FDA approved it. But those of us that are really looking at the science, looking at the reality of what's going on, it's time to question even more now than ever.
Yes, sir. Now, a lot of people have been questioning nurses, doctors. A lot of the medical community has been treating COVID prior to their employers working to mandate the vaccinations. Aside from questioning it, is there anything that the medical community can do, in your eyes, to help at least prevent the mandates from becoming something that employers implement?
Yeah, you know, I think the main thing that healthcare practitioners can do is to educate themselves and go out and study the science that says that a person that has been exposed or a person that has had COVID, their antibodies are stronger than the vaccine, and their ability to keep from getting infected and get sick has proven to be better than the vaccine. But of course, this information is not being spread through the media, but that is what the studies are saying. Many studies from not only this country, but around the world are saying that a person's immune system is better equipped to deal with the variants, the ones that we've had here and the ones that are coming, than a person who is vaccinated. Because as most of us know, we're hearing it in the media that you have to have a booster because the vaccine antibodies aren't lasting very long. Mm-hmm. But the people that have actually gotten the infection or have been exposed to it and their body has fought it and they didn't get sick, those people are showing a strong continuance of their immune cells towards this pandemic longer than those that are vaccinated. But, you know, I think that's the type of information that should strengthen the healthcare worker. But of course, that's the type of information that would prove that the vaccine is not worthy of the type of mandate that we're starting to see. Mm-hmm. And the push probably to another level that's going to happen after this authorization.
Right. Now, the last thing, Dr. Akili, we are in the summer season, which we've come to learn, or from what I understand, vitamin D and being hydrated and really, like you said, keeping your immune system up is one of the best things you can do for yourself, whether you get the vaccine or not. Mm-hmm. With vitamin D levels, I'm assuming, being at their highest during the summertime, is it odd that so many people are getting infected with a virus, not only the coronavirus, but the variants, but a virus period during this time?
Yes, it actually is strange. But at the same time, you know, the fear that has been perpetuated in this country, there are many people that aren't spending time outside. And so if you combine that, the typical person that's in fear is staying inside most of the time. Mm-hmm. And then we take the reality that more than likely, it may be years before it's admitted, but more than likely vaccinated people are spreading most of this infection. And so when you take those two things and combine them, it makes sense of what is happening. But yes, this is against the typical expectations. And, you know, on that point, people should take advantage of the time that we have left. Mm-hmm. Typically around this country, they say around mid-October, towards the end of October, is when vitamin D levels start to decrease because of the sun not being as prominent in some states. So take advantage of it. You know, I would suggest everybody get out as much as you can. Protect yourself. Do things that make sense, but get out there and protect yourself.
Yes, sir. And finally, what is new with the Ultimate Wellness Group?
Well, the newest thing with the Ultimate Wellness Group is that we are now streaming through a Black-owned streaming company called blackstream.live. And my link will be blackstream.live/TUWG. There will not be a program today. I got something that I'm working on over for the next few days. So there won't be a show today, but please join us next Tuesday, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, where we will have some discussions about, of course, this pandemic. And we will also be giving people much information on how they can join Blackstream.live. Support me, support the Black streaming service, and let's start to get our information out without being censored.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Akili, for joining us tonight, and we look forward to speaking with you again next week.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for joining us today and tuning into National Network View News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, NNV News. This is Rosalind Parks with National Network View News. Good night.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.